how I went from being angry and bitter and broke and sad and all the things after my divorce and in that kind of endless state of heaviness to now being married to my greatest love of my life, getting to do the work that I'm called to do in this world and living what I call my hell yes life as the healthiest, wealthiest, happiest version of me. Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So, I am going to talk to you about the power of thought and post-divorce transformation and how you can become a magnet for miracles and live your hell yes life. So, I want to just share with you a little bit about who I am. So, my name is Rihanna Malia, and I am a mama, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and I am a game-changing transformation coach. I'm an evolved NLP practitioner, and I get to serve successful women in the prime of their life, post-divorce or in the middle of divorce or at the end of that significant relationship, go from being stuck in that fog of uncertainty to stepping into the happiest, healthiest, most confident version of you. And all of this while becoming a magnet for miracles and living your hell yes life. And so in doing this work, how I went from being angry and bitter and broke and sad and all the things after my divorce and in that kind of endless state of heaviness to now being married to my greatest love of my life, getting to do the work that I'm called to do in this world and living what I call my hell yes life as the healthiest, wealthiest, happiest version of me. So specifically today, I want to talk to you about how powerful your thoughts are. So I want to talk about that mindset. And I love celebrating miracles because really I normalize miracles every day. So the miracle mindset, I want you to understand that as human beings, we think about between somewhere at 65 and 85,000 thoughts every single day. And 90% of those thoughts are recycled. They are literally the same thoughts that you thought yesterday and the day before that and the week before that and the month before that. So the problem with that is 75% of those thoughts are negative. So oftentimes we're focused on all the things that we don't want more of, right? And what happens is then that's what we continue to call in. So we want to talk about unlocking the power because you have so much power because everything that is physically in your life that's manifested in the physical. So anything that involves any of the senses, right? Anything you can see, touch, taste, hear, feel, is manifested by what we're thinking about. So when you transform your thoughts, you really get to transform the way you live by harnessing that power and breaking free from that loop of finding yourself in the same position, the same relationship, the same circumstances over and over again. And I want to ask you to really examine what you're focusing on. When you really look at it, it might surprise you. And so I'm going to teach you something right now, and I'm going to teach you something that's going to literally change your life. So I want you to think about being in a room and there's two walls. So if you're physically in a room right now, I want you to look to your left and look to your right. And I want you to think about one of those walls being the away wall. And that is everything that you don't want more of, everything that you don't want to continue to call in your life. And the other wall is your toward wall. That's the wall in which all of your hopes and dreams and desires and wishes and goals are living. So I want you to think for a moment about creating a list. And if you have access to paper, grab 2 sheets of paper. On one, write away, on the other, write toward. And on the away wall, I want you to really take a few minutes and think about all the things that you don't want. And so if we're thinking about it in the context of a relationship, I want you to think about all the things that you don't want in your life again in the context of a relationship. So that could be, I don't want another relationship where I'm not valued or cherished or loved or appreciated. I don't want another person in my life who is narcissistic. I don't want another person in my life who's going to, cheat or be dishonest or take advantage. I want you to just, whatever those things are for you, I want you to write all of those things on the away wall. And then on the other side, on the other paper, I want you to think about what do you want? What does your dream relationship look like? Who does that person show up as? What values and characteristics do they embody? And so I want you to take a minute and just do that and just write down that list. And if you're not able to do that now, just save this and come back to it later. And I really want you to just take 2-3 minutes and do this exercise. And then anytime that you find yourself in that spiral of negative thoughts, I want you to come back and ask yourself this question: what wall am I looking at? And I'm going to give you an example. So I had a couple of friends, and they were both in the dating time of their life, right? And they actually both lived in similar geographical area, which was interesting. But so Sarah desperately wanted to find love again. So she had been in a divorce. She had a divorce situation, and then she had kind of a series of a couple of relationships that it just kind of all felt the same. So she would go on dates, and she was constantly talking about how she didn't want, to end up with another jerk, or she didn't want to end up in another situation. And then what she kept finding was she kept dating the same people. Like, why am I dating the same people? And this is a common conversation that I have with a lot of my clients. And so she just kept talking about all the things she didn't want to have happen anymore. And guess what? Those are the situations and the people that kept showing up. So she continued to call that in. On the other hand, my other friend, Jason, was also in, dating and trying to find the love of his life. And he would go on a date, and it wasn't, maybe the right vibe, or they just didn't click. And he'd be like, you know what, on to the next. And he just kept focusing on and speaking life and language around finding and experiencing the love of his life, and just talking about how amazing it was going to be when he found this woman who loved to cook with him and wanted to travel and loved dogs and all of those things. Well, guess what? Jason found her, and they just got married, and it's amazing. And so the difference is really focusing on what you want versus what you don't want. And for so many people, that's where our thoughts end up. So it is an absolute game changer for you to be able to understand this one concept